Or shot fire, officer down, shot fire, officer down. Got a city officer down, shot fire.
223, be advised, we have a visual on enemy paratroopers in grid Papa uniforms.
Welcome to the Resilient Warrior Nation, a podcast dedicated to inspiring hope and healing for first responders, military veterans, and anyone facing PTSD and trauma. Hey guys, welcome to another podcast episode of the Resilient Warrior Nation. I'm your host, Mike Morgan. Very excited for my next guest. This is part two of a two-part series with Johnny Collins, former Navy SEAL, who's got an incredible story. If you guys did not watch part two, I encourage you to go watch that first and then come back and check out part two. Brother, great having you back here again. I think we started middle of November. We're now the end of February. Your episodes are going to drop one after the other this week coming up. So pumped to have you back on, John. How you doing?
I'm good, brother. Thanks for having me, man. It's been a little while, like you said, so I'm glad we can reconnect and finish this up.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for being so gracious with your time, bro. But the first half of your story was so insane. I'm like, we have to have you on for a second part. So I'm so glad you're into it as well.
Man.
Awesome. So as I've said before, Johnny and I have become friends, communicate here and there. And I say all the time, like if we were geographically close, I would be hanging out with this guy. He is awesome, salt of the earth, humble as could be, absolute warrior. And I just love everything about you, bro. Truly. Like you are the humble warrior. And that's the type of guy that I love.
I appreciate it, man. Thanks for the kind words. And I feel the same way, man. If we were closer, dude, we'd probably be jacking steel together and hanging out and grabbing a bite and chopping it up. But here we
Absolutely.
are. So this will have to do for now.
Yeah, exactly. I'm thinking about calling what the hell's that? A good Greek. It's a big movers around here. Get my ass out west. Johnny Collinsville.
Bring it,
All right,
dude.
brother. So we basically left it off at you finishing buds. We had a little technical difficulties. We started yesterday. We had to stop. Again, Johnny was gracious enough to give up his Saturday. So we were talking about you going to SQT. And can you kind of explain what that is for people that don't know or are not familiar?
Right, yeah. So SQT is the second half of the SEAL pipeline. So you do 6 months of buds and then 6 months of SQT, or in my case, you do 6 years of buds and then 6 years of SQT. But yeah,
which one did you find more challenging, John?
The first 6 years were the that was the hardest part, I think. I mean, it's been a while since we talked, but if I didn't mention it in the first one, it was, those 6 years just to get through a 1 year pipeline was a struggle, but, and we'll talk about it here today, but like, I feel like once I got through those first 6 years, of like doors, like getting slammed in my face and breaking through walls or going around walls or digging under walls or going up and over walls, like doors started opening up, like once I got to the teams, which was pretty cool.
It's unbelievable hearing your story. And it's 6 bud classes, 2.5 hell weeks, right?
Yep.
Wow. It still blows me away. I mean, brother, the resilience and the fortitude that you have to never quit, like that is mind-boggling to me. And you don't see that too often from men, period. So, I can't imagine the way you wake up every day, because I think the first thought that went to my mind is I could fucking conquer anything. Like there's literally nothing that could break you.
I mean, it's one of those things where it got like tattooed in my mind to like never quit. You know what I'm saying? I mean, it doesn't mean that, one of the sayings that we heard in training is that like, the training, just like life, it doesn't get easier, but you get harder, you become stronger. So it's like when you look back on what you accomplished, like you shouldn't, rest on your laurels, but use them as a stepping stone to conquer the next things that, come up in your life. And honestly, like, I feel like there's been a lot since transitioning out that's, I've had to kind of remind myself who I am and things like that. So, again, it doesn't mean it's easier, but you're like, hey, Like, I know who I am and I know what I can do, and if I put my head down and grind, like, I'll get it done. And that's really like a key pro tip to know, is that you just never give up, man.
Yeah, and that's a good point. Just because you did that doesn't mean life is going to be easy. But
Right.
as these things are coming through, you have that mindset that, all right, let's get it done, man. Whatever it is, let's climb this mountain, get to the next thing.
Straight
So
up.
I love it. So can you tell us about how SQT was for you?
Yeah, man. I mean, first off, graduating buds was like, it was such a high, it was such a pinnacle for me, because I'm like, finally, after all this time, like, I made it through. And the chances of you getting cut or dropped are significantly lower once you get to SQT, but you still have to perform. Like,
Right.
the guys do get kicked out and cut from training. I mean, I know a guy who he got dropped one day before graduation, and I mean,
Wow.
yeah, man.
For
I
what?
mean, he was a Liberty incident. He went out and got hammered and got rolled up by the police, and they dropped him. I mean, and it's one of those things too where it's like, you spoke about being humble. It's also, that humility and reminding yourself, like, hey, just because I'm a team guy, it's like, there's another mountain to climb, because then it's like, all right, now you're a new guy and you have to prove yourself all over again. And then you're a one platooner, and it's like the same thing. Like, now you got new guys looking up to you, and then you're a two platooner. And I feel like once you get to 2, 3 platoons, you start to, like, your aperture kind of opens up a little bit more, and you start to see more, and you realize, like, oh, well, the buds ain't shit. Being a new guy ain't shit. Like, you try to absorb as much as you can, but you like I said, there's always another horizon you got to get to. And
Yeah.
if you can keep yourself in check and remind yourself of humility, then you'll be good to go. It's unfortunate. Some guys, like, just like I'm sure in the police department or any other organization that's high level, you get some guys that make it through that probably shouldn't, and then you get some guys that get dropped or cut or whatever, and they were great dudes, and they would have been great team guys or officers or whatever. It's just kind of the way it works sometimes. There's a little bit of luck involved,
Yeah.
as much as being resilient and never quitting and having a strong mental fortitude is important. There is a little bit of luck involved, and you got to not put all your chips on that. I think if you put all your chips on yourself and your hard work, dedication, your heart, your mental, then the luck tends to favor you a little bit more. But sometimes you just get a bad hand. But just kind of is what it is.
Today's episode is brought to you by Cutting Edge Testosterone Therapy, a veteran-owned, family-run clinic led by a retired first responder. At Cutting Edge, they help men and women rebuild strength, focus, and vitality through advanced hormone therapy, peptides, and performance-based weight management. Whether you've served your country, your community, or your family, Cutting Edge helps you get your edge back safely, professionally, and with people who understand what service takes out of you. Cutting Edge offers individualized care with no monthly fees or contracts. Learn more at cuttingedgetestosteronetherapy.com. Cutting Edge Testosterone Therapy, built by those who serve for those who still do. Yeah, you'll see that periodically. And it's a good point you make about these jobs. Like, they're all about experience. And until you get that experience, you have 2 ears and one mouth for a reason. Like, sit
Right.
there, learn
Right.
what you're doing. And it takes years, man. Same thing with me as a cop when I was an FTO and I trained the recruits. Like, when you guys get out of the car, this is what you see. When I get out of the car, it is greatly, heightened. Just,
Right.
just these little cues, man. Which watch a guy's wearing his hand on? He's probably
Yeah.
going to be leading with that one if he's throwing a jab at you. Eye
Right.
movements, just as you're looking around and he stopped talking, just these subtle little things. Cauliflower, yeah, now he's going to be taking that fight to the ground. Like, just watch. And just like you guys, I mean, you're not getting to be a great soldier just coming out of SQT. It's going to take
Right.
years. It's going to take plenty of people helping you along the way, too. So just keep that humility. Because
Yeah.
I don't care how good you are, as you know, there's always someone better than you. There's a bigger
Always.
guy behind you. There's a better guy, better operator. So
Right.
just shut your mouth. And the guys will always root for you, too, if you
Yeah.
just come in with that humility.
Totally.
So any road bumps in SQT for you?
Not really, man. I mean, I was on the bubble a couple times, but I've dialed in and focused and I made it straight through with 287. So after I got rolled in second phase from 283 to 287, and I classed up at 287, I just made it straight through from second phase to all the way to graduation, SQT graduation. Like I said, I was on the bubble a couple times. Diving was a couple months into SQT, and if you listen to the first episode, you'll know that being in the water, even though I was a SEAL or training to be one, was not my strong suit. But yeah, we had a dive that I was down one dive. Like I had failed one, and I was on the bubble. And if I failed another one, I would have been dropped. And then we did this long night dive, and it's all black underwater, and you're kicking for a couple hours, and you got your tack board like right in front of your face. You're just looking at this this glow in the dark compass, and you're staying on track with your route in the water. And like I said, it's pitch black all around you, and you're just kicking for a couple hours, and you're hitting your points, and then out of nowhere you just kind of see this like phosphorescent like green light, and then you kind of kick towards that. You're like, all right, I'm on track. And then pulled up to it, and it was this big 5-gallon Home Depot bucket filled with like chem lights. I'm like, all right, nailed the target. And then after I surfaced, I realized like I was one of maybe 2 swim pairs that had hit the target. Everybody else failed. So it was good that I passed that one. Like I said, I was on the bubble, and then being one of the only swim pairs to pass it kind of put me back in the game, and leveled me out with the rest of the class. And then CQC, which it's like one of the bread and butter, I would say, feather in our caps for the SEAL teams is CQC. I mean, if you screen to go to dev group, most guys who fail for that. And it's just self-induced stress. And that's, you don't know what you don't know. You get in there, now, like years later, I feel like I can do that really without thinking, like clearing rooms and stuff like that. But, when you first do it, it's like, it's a lot of information at once. And I was on the bubble for it, but I think I finger on the trigger, finger off the trigger, and, stuff like that, or on safe, on fire. And knowing like safety rules and stuff like that with shooting, the condition of your weapon, when your finger's supposed to be on, your finger's supposed to be off. But sometimes they'll tell you, hey, we know you know the safety rules, but this time do it like this. It's just to see if you can
adapt,
absorb that new information and switch it up. But I was on the bubble for that, and then the next day, I went home or back to the barracks, and I was just kind of dirt diving and practicing my fundamentals and whatnot. And then the next day I came in and crushed it and didn't have any problems. So I made it through. And like CQC, like I said, that's like our bread and butter. And then land warfare, I was crushing that too. So I didn't really have any problems when it came to running around with a gun. But all the other stuff was kind of giving me a hard time. Or I should say all the diving stuff is really where I had some trouble. So, but yeah, man, I mean, made it through SQT, really no problem. Got a real tight group of guys that I graduated with. Had a few guys roll out, had a few guys roll in. And some of the guys that rolled into my class were guys that I was in class with before that I got tight with. So it was like reuniting with my old friends and yeah, it was good, man. It was cool. So graduated March 2nd, 2012, which we're coming up on that years. Anniversary in a couple days here. So that was like best day of my life, dude.
I can imagine. Because you guys do your tridents, right, that day?
Yeah. I mean, it was a great ceremony. Family came out. It was awesome, man. It was everything you kind of like live to see, as far as a graduation goes. And then, but then it's like I said, man, like you're a new guy, and now everybody's watching you and seeing how you are as a new guy. And so I ended up attaching to SEAL Team 7, Charlie Platoon, which I was stoked about. I knew maybe two of the guys that were in my platoon that were also new guys, like my peers. And
this is West Coast, right, John?
West Coast, yeah.
Okay.
They kind of give you the option, like, or they did back then, is, if you want to go East Coast, West Coast, or go to Hawaii and do SDV. And I'm like, man, I was born on the East Coast. I lived there my whole life until I joined the Navy, and I was like, you know what? I'm staying out here. Like palm trees, beach, ocean,
I don't blame you, brother.
Weather, beautiful women. I'm like, I'm sticking around. Yeah, right. I mean, you don't really get to choose which team you want to go to, which I was just happy to be part of a team. Honestly, I'm like, hey, like at this point, like, as long as I could stay on the West Coast, like I'm down, man. So
absolutely.
So that was cool, man. And checked in like September of 2012. I did like a 6-month language school before that and learned Pashto.
Really? How was that for you?
It was cool, man. You're kind of like a rogue Navy SEAL at that point, because you're not really attached to a team yet. You know where you're going, but like it was Monday through Friday, 6 hours of just like talking, reading, writing, listening to the language. And, it was good. I ended up using it a little bit downrange, which was cool. So I did that for 6 months, and then checked into my team, and we jumped right into ULT, which is unit level training. So you just have all these different blocks of training you go to, and it happens team by team. So like SEAL Team 7 was in ULT. I think SEAL Team 5 was deployed. SEAL Team 3 is in ProDev. So you have like a cycle you go through.
Okay.
So
is this what they call workup as well, or no?
Yeah, right.
Okay.
So this is your workup. So, and then you hit all the different training. So you do CQC, land warfare, diving, GoPlats. You got all these things you do, and it takes about 6 or 7 months to do. And a lot of it is, it's more advanced training. It's like when you get your trident, like really what it means is that you have earned the right and the privilege to learn more training and learn it at a more advanced level. And it just gets more and more and more advanced. Did that for 6-7 months. Didn't really have any issues. I mean, I wasn't the best new guy, but I wasn't the worst. I was like, my average is about an 83%. And that's me giving 100% of my effort. I smack an 83%, and so I had fun, man. Like being a new guy was like the best time of my life. It's like I'm 27, 28 years old, single, new guy. I had a roommate, lived in Pacific Beach. Just a lot of fun, man.
Who's better than you, kid?
What's that?
I said, who is better than you, kid?
Right, many. Exactly. And that's the other thing too, man. It's like, some of these blocks of training you go to, like Nyland, land warfare. I mean, you're out there for a month, and you can drink if you want to. I wouldn't advise it. I never did. Just like I would at the very end. Yep. But you're out there in the desert heat. It gets up to like 120 degrees. It's supposed to like mimic like being out in Afghanistan. I mean, it was pretty damn close. And you're running out there with full loadout, helmet, kit, as much water as you can carry, and then then you're carrying your buddies. They'll put guys down like they're getting shot, and you're getting shot off the X, and how are you going to flex to that? And when you get back from that, dude, like you said, who's better than you? Like, you come back and you're just like, you're made of steel, man. Like, you feel like fuck yeah, dude. Like, I just did this, and you like, I'm ready for more. Like, let's go. And a lot of guys didn't. Excuse me. A lot of guys didn't really like Nyland because it sucks so bad.
Okay.
But that made me love it. It was like, same thing with like Bud's classes and stuff and Hell Weeks. Like, I would see guys get like nervous and whatever, and it was like, I kind of leaned into that. I was like, well, if everybody's kind of dreading this, then I'm going to lean into it and learn to love it, because it's when you're getting hit, man, like, pulling back and getting on your heels is not the way to go. It's like, you got to push into it and drive harder.
Yeah.
And I kind of, and it helped me. It served me well. So yeah, it was good. It was good. It was good training, and did that for, like I said, 6-7 months, and then we got our orders to deploy to Afghanistan, which we had a pretty solid head shed. Like, all my older guys were badasses. My chief and LPO were legit. My OIC was legit. So I had a good upbringing as far as coming up in the teams with
Right.
older guys that were like, pipe hitters in
Squared away.
earlier combat missions. Like all my older guys had seen combat. They had all, been to Iraq, been to Afghanistan, fought against the enemy, like lessons learned, and they were pretty good about passing those lessons on to us as new guys. And so we got the golden ticket to go to Afghanistan and get out there and do some ops and fight, and it was cool, man. Like, I feel like I kind of like caught the last 2 minutes of the Super Bowl game,
Really?
Yeah, because after that there wasn't a whole lot of kinetic deployments. I don't think we really even went to Afghanistan after that. Some platoons deployed to Iraq after that, but we used to say we cut the lights out in Afghanistan, because we turned it over to the Army guys. We had a base out there that we built up, and we turned it over to the Army cats after we left. But it was cool, man. Like, I got to do the job. I got to be out there on the field, working with the guys that I looked up to, that I wanted to be like. And again, it was all good, man. It was like what I wanted out of a SEAL platoon, like kind of what I'd been dreaming of since I was a kid. So yeah, we went out there for about 6-7 months, and then everybody
Bunch
came
of
home.
firefights? You guys get into it?
Yeah, I didn't really personally get into any. I was on rooftops when other guys were shooting. I did my job, covering my sector and covering my buddies' backs and stuff like that. But we had a couple new guys got some kills. Some of the older guys got some kills, and it was legit. Yeah, it's funny. Like, I'll randomly like remember something that I hadn't thought of in years, or I forgot about. I'm like, oh damn, like I forgot we did that. Like, that was pretty sick. So yeah, it was a good time, man. And then redeployed back to San Diego. And at that time, like, I had not had any schools. Actually, quick story, because I mentioned I went to Farsi, not Farsi, Pashto. And that was the only school I had as a new guy. Like, it was language school, It's like,
Right.
Some new guys had sniper school, some guys were medics. I don't think we didn't have any new guy breachers, but everybody had at least one school. Some guys were comms guys. I was just a language guy, so I pretty much just ran around with a big gun and was looking for people to saw in half. But like one mission we were on, we would insert at night and patrol into a village and secure the village and then post up, and then when daytime rolled around, we'd look to get into a gunfight, and we inserted on helo, patrolled to our target, went in, kind of set security around the target, got some ladders. One of my older guys, he went up on a ladder and he's holding down in the courtyard, and people were like, these are villagers, and they're like, what the hell's going on? And I'm outside, holding security, and he's behind me, and he's up on this ladder, and he's like, hey, put your hands up, put your hands up. He's like, does anybody know how to say put your hands up? And I was like, Lasuna Portacra. That's one of the things I remember is like, put your hands up. And he says it, and and like broken white boy type language, like Lasuna Portacra. And I hear him go, yeah, keep him there. So it's like, it's kind of cool to like, hear, see the training, see a little bit of, the language training take place real world. And
I'm sure your boy was pretty happy about it. Like, thanks, John.
It was cool. It was, hey, I did my part. I lateraled the ball to you. So it was cool, man. Nothing super sexy on my end as far as I was in this crazy gunfight or anything like that, man. I mean, like I said, I got out on the field and I got to play a little bit, and some of the other guys got to light some people up, but I did my job. Pulled security. It was a big gun. I was looking, but
I'm sure.
Nobody deserved it. So nobody that I had my gun on deserved it.
Yeah,
some people deserved it, but yeah, man, it was a good platoon. It was a good deployment, and then we redeployed back to the States, back to San Diego, and then you go into that next cycle, which for us is pro dev, professional development. So basically, it's 6 months of whatever schools you can get, and then going to those.
And
schools.
you choose them yourself, or do your bosses come to you and be like, we want you to take A, B, and C?
So I did get an option, and they were like, hey, Johnny, like, you don't have any schools. Like, what do you want to do? So my top 3 schools were sniper, breacher, and canine handler. Like, I didn't know much about any of them. I just knew, like, hey, you kind of know what a sniper is. Like, you're just far away in the bush taking a shot. Breacher, it's like, oh, I'm going to bust open some doors. I'm either going to blow them up or smack them with a sledgehammer or saw them up or, take a torch and cut through them or whatever. Or lock pick, so it's like I have an idea, and then canine's canine, it's like I'm working with a dog. But yeah, so I was like, well, I want to go to sniper school. So, let's get that one under the belt. And so that was the first school I went to, and that was tough, man. I mean,
I was just about to ask, it's not a super difficult school for you.
Yeah, like not everybody makes it through, and you see why once you get there. And I mean, the first gun they put us on was the Mark 20, and I mean, it didn't really hold a good group. And really, sniper school is, I like to call it spotting school, where you shoot. So you have to have a good spotter. My spotter and we didn't really get along, and it was tough for me. But then, so you take 2 tests and you get 3 shots at them. So one of them's called snaps and movers, and you do it from different distances. So you're at 100 yards, and 100 yards downrange, you got targets that pop up, and they kind of are walking with these targets, and you got to either track them, ambush them, or what they call track bush them. So it's just 3 different ways to shoot the target, and then after you shoot it, they move you back, or if you miss it, they still are moving you back. I mean, you train it for a couple weeks, and then they test you on it, and then they move you back a few hundred yards, and you do that a few times, and you got to get like an 80 or above, and then the other test they give you is called UKD, unknown distance. So you've got a bunch of steel out downrange, and you got to kind of draw out like a little map of like what you think the distance is and hit your targets. And I had failed both of those tests twice, and I was the only guy in the class that had failed. So the next day, I had the entire cadre behind me for both tests, and
no pressure.
Bro, I'm telling you, man. Like it was like I felt like it was pool. I felt like it was pool comp again. Like that's the level of anxiety and the level of like mental focus I had to have for those tests. But like I said, my spotter and I'm not going to put it all on him, but we didn't really get along, and I didn't think he was that great. And so when it came time for the third test, they give you an instructor to be your spotter, and so my snaps and movers test, I got like a 95 on, so I smoked that. And then my UKD test, I passed that too. But like I said, I had the entire cadre behind me, because if I failed, they were like, all right, like they had a ticket ready for you to go back to San Diego, like pack your shit. Yeah, you're done with training.
Damn.
And it's like, it's one of those things too where it's like, when you're trying to become a SEAL, if you don't make it, people are a little bit more like, hey man, not everybody can be a SEAL. Like, you gave it your best shot. It's not for everyone. But once you put that bird on, man, like you are expected to not only pass, but to like crush it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And
plus you guys are all type A personalities. You're not used to failing.
Right.
And you guys aren't putting up with failing, so
exactly.
I can imagine the pressure you put on yourself. Everyone's a high performer at that point.
For sure. So having a like full cadre behind me, like all the way up to like the master chief of the cell, watching me the entire time I'm shooting, and I'm like, it was like, but you got to put it out of your mind. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So, I did.
Are they talking smack, or they're just kind of there?
No, they're just watching,
All right, good.
It would be a little easier if they were talking smack, honestly, because it's like, all right, I'll show you. But they're sitting there watching quietly as you're doing the test. So, yeah, man, I ended up getting through that. And then they put you on the 300 Win Mag. So after you pass with the Mark 20, they put you on the 300 with that, which that thing is like a laser beam, Like I said, the Mark 20, it's the grouping. If you're shooting even if you're shooting accurate, like your grouping is a little, like it's got a little bit of a spread to it. But that 300, man, that thing is dialed. So the rest of sniper training wasn't too bad for me. We had some stalks we had to do too, which was they drop you off at a point and you got to get as close or as far away as you can to make a shot, but you're all vegged up, and you got the cadre downrange from you, and they're on glass looking for you, and then you got cadre out in the field walking around, with orange hats on, and they're on radios, and the guys looking for you will tell the guys in the field, like, hey, walk 10 meters to the left, stop, walk forward 2 meters. He's right there. And they'll either say yes and reset you, or no, you're off. Like that means you're not seeing what you think you're seeing. So it gets a little the hairs on the back of your neck kind of stand up when cadre members start walking close to you, and you got to melt into the environment as best you can. But it was super fun, man. Learning that trade craft, like I always say, like I feel like every team guy should go to sniper school, because you learn basic like ninja shit, like SEAL shit. So it was.
I'm surprised you don't make every one of you guys go there. I'll be honest with you,
dude. Everybody wants to go, but there's only a certain amount of billets. Like you can't have a whole platoon full of snipers. So that's where the luck kind of comes in. And also, to my point earlier, is like I felt like getting through buds. I was just getting. Doors slammed in my face, and I just had to figure out a way through. But then once I got to a team, it was like, all right, Johnny, you're up, sniper school. All right, I get back from sniper school. Hey, we need a guy to go to the canine school. I'll go. That was my next school. And I'm like,
really?
Yeah, I mean, like pretty much within a month of me getting back, they were like, "We need a guy to go be a canine guy." I was like, "Hell yeah, dude!" Like that was one of my top three. So ended up uh, ended up ripping over to the canine training unit. Did that for
Where's that, John?
just right across the street from the SEAL team that I was at, SEAL Team
Okay.
7. It's on the dry side. And that to me was like the team within the teams, you know. It's like it was a really small group of guys. We had like anywhere between 8 and 12 dogs at any given time.
All
And
males?
Mostly Mals, and then we had like maybe one or two Dutch Shepherds.
Okay.
Okay. But they were all for the most part pretty good dogs. But that was good training too. You did like a 7-week training course. Just one is day one you're learning how to walk a dog, which you think you know how to walk your dog, and then you realize like, oh, I've been walking my dog wrong for my whole life. Then it starts like that, and then they start teaching you how to recognize the dog's behavior when he's alerting to odor, how to call him back if he's away from you, different ways to do that, sending him on a bite, which is always the sexy thing to see, is sending the dog to go bite a guy.
Fire missiles, man.
Yeah, bro. So it was good, man. Really, the odor detection is really where it's at with the dogs, because I mean that's what saves guys' lives. It's alerting on humans, alerting on explosives. So being able to recognize that in the dog is pretty important. And then by the end, you go through like a 3-day test period, some daytime training, some nighttime training, and you go through different scenarios where you've got to know when the dog is alerting on odor and identify it and pick it up, and send the dog out on bites, recall them, do a little bit of clearance, stuff like that. And then once you get through that, which honestly, man, like I said, the dog team was like the teams within the teams. And I did pretty well there. I can say that with humility, because you've heard about how I sucked at everything else, but doing pretty well with the dogs made me feel happy, and I was excited about that. So, and then pretty much through the rest of our training, like, so after Pro Dev, we go back to workup, where we go back through all the different cells, land warfare, SALC, all these different training cells.
Now you're a dedicated canine guy at this point? You have
right,
your dog,
so
and you guys are a team?
Yeah, so right now
Okay.
I'm sniper and breacher qualified. We had a couple snipers already in our platoon, but we didn't have any canine guys. So I mean,
Okay.
I was cool. I was cool with being a canine guy. It's like, hey, I'm a sniper if you need it, but if you need a canine guy, hey, I'm your guy. So ended up rolling with the dog pretty much through all of ULT. So unless it was like CQC or land warfare or SALC, those were like the top 3 training cells that I had to attend. But like diving and like some recon stuff, or they had a few other different schools, or I should say training cells, that I could afford to miss and go back and train with the dog.
Gotcha.
So I was pretty much attached to the dog team, even though I was at the platoon. And I will say this, like, being a dog guy made me a better operator, because
Really?
yeah, man, because I mean, like, when you don't have a dog, like, you're just kind of focused on blue force picture, red force picture, what's going on my comms, what's my job, like, whatever it is. But when you have when you have another mind attached to you and it's doing whatever it's doing, whether it's alerting to something or pulling you or getting spun up on something. I mean, you're constantly like looking back and forth between the dog and and then all the other things you got to be responsible for.
Yeah.
So because what will happen is, and I've seen it and I've done it, is the dog will be like pulling me towards an odor. But I got something else going on, and I'll pull the dog off, and it was like, hey man, like you missed that odor. Your dog was trying to tell you that there was something there, but you were focused on something else. So
Makes you a lot more aware.
when I didn't have the dog, yeah, way more aware. I mean, you kind of you're like, so when I didn't have a dog, like, because we would do some runs where it's like, hey, the dog needs to be in here to do this, and we need to see you as the dog guy and this and that. But then they would kennel the dog sometimes and be like, all right, we're going to do this next run without a dog. And I swear, dude, like everything like slowed down, for me. I'm just like, all right, that's that. There's my guys. There's the bad guys. There's an out. There's a door. Like whatever it is, everything just slowed way down, and I felt like I went from like this to this. Like my aperture just opened up. And the other thing to mention too is, how I said we had a few snipers in our platoon, had a few breachers. There's only one dog guy per troop, so a troop is 3 platoons. So I would roll in with another platoon. I'm sorry. A troop is 2 platoons.
How many guys are in a platoon?
Sometimes 3.
16?
Anywhere between 18 to 24 guys in a platoon.
Okay.
So your troop would have 40 plus. So I would train with my platoon and then with another platoon. And then later on, when I was attached to the dog team, I would I would go to training with other platoons that were in ULT, and I would work with those platoons as a dog guy just to like show them what it looks like. And also I was trying to deploy too as a dog guy, so I was getting familiar with the platoons, them getting familiar with me and the dog. And hey, if you need a guy downrange to be a dog guy, I'm your man. So yeah, man, did the ULT, did the workup again. It didn't have any problems with that. Had a few good guys that I worked with as dog guys, and we all deployed back overseas. We didn't have any, and we were just kind of training when we deployed again. We were in the UAE and didn't really do much. Just trained for 6 months. So it was a lot of working with the dog day to day, and that's like being a dog guy, like that's my collateral duty. So it's like, which is a great collateral duty to have, by the way. Yeah, man. I mean, that's your buddy. You got to make sure that he gets walked, he gets fed, he gets trained. All the things. So it's like, that's my guy, is my dog, and I got to make sure that he's taken care of. So that was my collateral duty.
That'd be my
dream. Man, did that.
Could have a funny, quick canine story for you. Excuse me. A buddy of mine got called for 2 suspicious cars in a driveway, and it's like 2014. So we head over there. Unbeknownst to these 2 guys, it was a drug deal going down. They didn't realize that there was the young girl of the homeowner in the house. She had come home from school. They had done the floors, so she went they were getting done before her mom got off work. She was in the house. Those guys left. She locked the doors, waiting for her mom, doing the schoolwork. These guys, 2 different cars, come up me for a big drug deal. So we get the call, suspicious cars. I figured it was just a real estate agent. So we roll up. I first start talking to the first guy. I'm like, hey, what's up, man? What are you guys doing? This guy sold me a car last year. I'm like, he did? He's like, yeah, I'm buying it back now. Oh, no sweat. So right off the bat, I had a weird feeling. I'm like, where did that happen, man? He's like, huh? I'm like, where'd that sale last year happen? Give me the physical address. Tell me where it happened. And he's looking at me. He won't answer. I'm like, how old are you, man? He's like, 27. I'm like, 27 years old. You can't tell me where that happened? So immediately I told my buddy, I'm like, yo, swap. I want to talk to the other guy. So the other guy's got a sweet Range Rover. He was the head honcho. Start talking to him. He's BSing me out the ass. I'm like, 220 something. We call them Delta dogs, drug dogs. So K9 comes out. It was a Mal. Get him out of the car. The K9 guy leaves to drive his window open. So I'm sitting now with the back of the car with this guy, two perps. A couple of more guys are here now. The dog does a 360 around the car and does nothing. He doesn't hit on it. And in my head, I'm like, yo, I'm losing it, man. I'm like, there's no way there's not to open this car. So with that, he does a second, jumps through the driver's window. I see the K9 guy look in. He pops open the rear hatch. There's like 4 hockey bags with like 70 pounds of weed. And it was like the coolest picture I have on my phone still. And the dog's just sitting on the weed, with his tongue out. I look at the guy. I'm like, yo, man, he looked like Jean-Claude Van Damme. Exactly. I'm like, what's that? He just turns around, puts his hands behind his back. I'm like, oh, you're fucking big time, aren't you? And he was a big time drug dealer. He just screwed up, man. He should have had his other lower guys delivering the weed, but he just thought no one was going to see this going down.
Yeah,
it was awesome.
That's crazy. It's crazy the dog. It's crazy the dog didn't alert on 4 hockey bags full of dope.
Yeah, you know what it was? The K9 guy told me it was probably so inundating him with a scent that for a second he couldn't figure out exactly where it was coming from because it was so strong. Once we popped that the car was reeking. So he's like, kind of threw him off for a second because he wasn't sure where it was. And it was awesome though, hitting on him. I love those dogs, man. They are incredible what they do.
Dude, they're awesome,
especially
man.
Yours.
And, dude, I mean, they're your brothers too, man. A lot of times people kind of forget about the dog or want to not give the dog his credit, but they're great, man. I mean, they save lives all the time, and it's good shit, bro.
Hell yeah! And the only one returns that freaking ball or that toy that you give him, right?
Yeah, dude.
Is that how you guys are doing?
That's what they live for, because they don't get to go out and hang out and drink with the boys or go get laid or do whatever you do for fun. It's like their fun is like getting the tennis ball, or getting a tug toy,
Exactly.
So
I love seeing
but yeah, bro, it was a good deployment. For the most part, we just did a lot of training. We ended up doing some work with partner forces and their K9 unit and doing a little literal dog and pony show for their chain of command, showing them, how it's done, and it went off without a hitch. And, so did that, came back, and at that point I was kind of like, all right, if I'm not deploying to anywhere like kinetic and hot and doing anything like super cool, which nobody really was, then I'm going to rip out of the platoon and go to the dog team. I was having fun with it. I was getting pretty good at it. And I'm like, let me go over here and kind of take a knee and see, what else happens in the platoons and with the world and, what's next. And so I went over to the dog team and I was an instructor over there for a couple years. And helped build out a new curriculum for new dog handlers coming in to go through a new pipeline, new training pipeline for them to train for 7 weeks and then take that 3-day course at the end to get certified. Put a few guys through and it was good, man. And so while I was over there, I got the opportunity to go to breacher school. So when you're attached to a training unit, it's called TRADET, training detachment. So that was the K9 unit for me.
Okay.
You have training, but you also have some time off, and you got guys that can cover down. If you want to take leave or go to a school. So I got the opportunity to go to breacher school. My chief came to me and he was like, hey man, a spot opened up if you want to go to breacher school. I'm like, here I am, send me. So that was like number 3 on my top 3 list of schools to go to.
Nice.
So I went out to Virginia for think it was 2 months or a month and a half.
Really?
Wow. Yeah, and did breacher school, which that was so much fun too, man. Because it's just a lot of meat eaters learning how to get through a door and into a house and clear a house, and it's a lot of good trade craft that you learn. A lot of different ways to open a door. You can go explosive and blow that some bitch open. You can crack it with a sledge, cut it open with a saw. It's a lot of good stuff, man. A lot of good training. There was a training video we saw. I think it was NYFD training video, because they got we got a tool. It's called a hooligan tool, or a hoolie bar.
Yeah.
It's got the spike and the crow and then the flathead, and it just shows you how to pry open a door. And we actually watched a video on how the New York Fire Department, uses this hoolie tool to get into a door, and that was pretty cool, man. It was, like I said, 6-7 weeks of just training, learning how to get through the threshold, and then it was a lot of CQC after that. You clear through a house, get to another door, process that door, figure out how I'm going to get into it, and there's test gates for that too. The big one was learning how to go explosive, and slap a charge on a door, pay out the line, and then clack it off. And I stayed late a few days and just kind of was training that and dirt diving that. I wasn't having a difficult time with it, but it was just memorizing the cadence and the steps to actually doing that. And so I stayed late one day and was there for about an hour or two, just going through the motions on how to do this. And then the next day we had an evolution where it's all right, you're going to clear this house. And I went explosive on every door, just because I'm I don't know if I'll ever be able to do this again. And I didn't, by the way. That was the last time I went explosive was, I went through 4 or 5 doors, just taking my charges off, slapping them on, paying out the line, getting behind cover, cracking it off. And it was cool, man. It's a little bit of a rush. And, you go in there with a shotgun too and blow the lock off. I mean, it's just
nice.
a good old.
It's
boy,
shit that guys like to do, man.
Dude, it was man camp, and you're there with with the homies, and then you go out on the weekends, and it was a good time, man. So I feel like I got my flowers, as they say, after I got my trident, and what I mean by that is I got what I wanted, and the doors were open for me once I got to the SEAL teams. It was tough getting to the SEAL teams, but once I was in, man, I got all the schools that I wanted, got boned up on everything, and it's just cool to kind of. What's that?
Did you go to Halo school?
I did, Halo training at the end of, or jump training at the end of SQT.
Okay.
But I mean, other than that, I didn't really do much jumping. They started implementing more of the jumping when I was in Tradette, and then as I was getting out, more of that was coming. Because things had kind of died down. I got out in 2018. Yeah. I got out in 2018, and by that time, there wasn't a whole lot going on other than a few things you may have seen on the news in Iraq. But other than that, there wasn't a whole lot of kinetic deployments going on. So they started implementing more of the training that we kind of got away from. Okay. So the diving, the jumping. I was never an altitudes guy, whether it was low or high. I like my feet on the ground, I like my feet on the ground, brother.
Are you afraid of heights?
It's not that I'm afraid of heights. It's just
I am.
It's just that jumping out of a plane, a perfectly good airplane,
just doesn't make sense, huh?
And praying that your chute opens. I mean, it's cool. It is fun. but
Yeah.
but the fun kind of gets taken out of it when you're like in training mode and like thinking about, all right, you know, is this chute going to deploy or am I going to rip it open and a bag of tools is going to come out or my chute's going to catch on fire, it's like, and then figuring out like, I know some guys that have had like legit cutaways, I've known some guys that burned in, and it's like, fuck that, dude, and then being underwater, we know about that and my history with being underwater. So I'm a land frog, I like my feet on the ground, it's give me a dog and
That's awesome.
and a machine gun and I'm good to go, bro. But it was good, man.
The essentials.
So yeah, right. So, but yeah, man, I did the rest of my time in the Navy at Tradet. So, like I said, it took me 6 years to get to the SEAL teams. I told myself I'm going to give 6 years back. But in my mind, I'm like, I want to be a 25-year salty Master Chief at Dam Neck. That was like what I wanted to do. But shit started changing, man. I started kind of seeing the writing on the wall with different things that were happening, in the community and in the world, and just kind of saw shit rolling downhill. And I was like, you know what, man? Like, I think it's time to get out. It was a bunch of stuff happening that I was just like, I got the same like butterflies in my stomach about getting out that I had when I thought about joining.
Really?
Wow. Yes. So I was just kind of going with my gut on that, and I didn't have a plan, bro. Like I didn't have any idea what I was going to do when I got out. Like I said, like I wanted to do the full ride. But I'm like, it's not what I signed up for anymore. Unfortunately. Like,
Was it one thing that happened that kind of broke your, I don't want to say broke your spirit, but
it was a lot of things, man. And, I don't, I've done a few of these podcasts where I've talked about it, and they say don't read the comments, but sometimes I like to check in and see what kind of shit people are talking, and people love to talk shit on their cell phones about, and so and I'm not disparaging the Navy or the teams or whatever, but there was some shit that happened that I was not cool with, and I saw how they were railroading some guys. I got in trouble for some bullshit. And I'm like, you know what, man? Like, this is not like the teams I signed up for, and like the guys I worked with, my older guys in my first platoon that were like real, like hard hitting frogmen. Like, I was seeing less and less of that and more of like the administrative bullshit. And that's not to say that I didn't bring any of it on myself or that we as a community didn't bring it on ourselves either. But I saw the way things were being handled from the brass and the upper echelon, and I'm like, dude, like it's just not like the biker club that I signed up to be a part of,
Yeah. I know what you're talking about because I've seen you on other podcasts talking about it, and I totally align with your feelings and the way you went through it. It happened the same, I don't want to say the same things, but I essentially had the same experience in my police career. Like I started off in 93 and it was one way, and by the time I was getting out in early 20s, it was a totally different world, bro. And I felt like a dinosaur. Like I don't even belong here anymore. I can't do the job. Everything you do is questioned. Everything now is on video. These house mouse, we call them. I don't want to say, you're supposed to say, it sounds weird saying that, but house mice, if you will. These admin guys who are not real cops, in my opinion, are, making all these calls on things that you did with a second or two to make a, life or death decision in some cases, whatever the case may be. And these clowns are, kind of defining your career in some cases. I'm like, I don't want a part of it. And in fact, about that case I told you about with the weed, 70 pounds of weed, this guy gets probation. The feds had him on another wiretapping case, so he got screwed big time down the line. But I went to my lieutenant, and I'm like, I just want to let you know, I just testified, he got probation for 70 pounds of weed. I'm like, I will never make another weed case again. And my lieutenant's like, what? What do you mean? It's illegal. I'm like, I don't care. I'm like, I'm telling you now, I will make them pour it out. I will make them call their parents. I will do whatever I have to do. You will never see a marijuana case from me again. And he was stunned, and he never saw a marijuana case. I'm like, why? Why am I wasting my time and energy? 70 pounds gets you nothing, so I totally align with what you're saying.
Yeah, man. I mean, it's unfortunate because it's like, you know, and, again, some of it had to do with the fact that we were not deploying to hot areas anymore.
Sure.
And,
That's what you guys are there for. You want to?
right. I mean, that's what we signed up to do, is to go fight.
Yep.
And it's like when we don't have an enemy to fight, we end up fighting each other, and it got real cannibalistic, and it turned real ugly. And I'm like, dude, this ain't it, So as it was, I ended up getting out in 2018, and didn't really do much that first year. I ended up, I did a couple like skill bridge courses and stuff like that. My girlfriend and I got married, and we're coming up on 8 years together now. But I was at a point. I'm like, you know what, man? Like, I was single for pretty much my entire career, and that's the way I wanted it, because I didn't want to deploy and be a FaceTime husband or father. Like, I wanted to see if I'm going to have kids. Like, I want to see them grow up. And also I'm like I was doing pretty well, with the ladies as it was. So it's like, why am I settling down right now? It's like,
we got a Coxman on our hands.
I'm like, I'm married to the teams right now, man. Like, this is what I want to do. But then when I started seeing, like, the teams is more of a mistress than, your girlfriend's, it's like, all right, well, let me start a new chapter, start my own little fire team. So ended up getting married pretty much. I got married right at the end of my career. So I got married in June and got out in October. And then, like I said, my wife and I kind of grew close that first year. Just, hey, let's take a knee, take a breath, and work on our, starting our lives together. And and then I got hooked up.
How are you doing mentally now that you're no longer part of the brotherhood? You're no longer part of the teams. Are you doing good, or you?
Right now, I'm doing good. I think, that first year, I wanted a clean break, because a lot of drama and a lot of bullshit happened, and I just was like, you know what, I just want to get far away from this, and take some time off from being around the community. But then I started to miss it, and I started missing the boys and the camaraderie. That's really what you miss, is just being in a high bay, or being on a training trip, or deploying to somewhere cool, with your brothers. So I got fortunate enough to get hooked up with a gig where I was contracting for the Navy, and I was instructing. I was a firearms instructor, or combat skills instructor, for EOD guys, and we were putting them through different courses of fire, and it was, techs that, like you said, house mice that never leave the office, all the way up to like guys that have deployed with NSW platoons and have done like legit deployments, and knew how to manipulate a weapon, and do all the good sexy shit. So I did that for about 4.5 years, and I loved that, man. It was a awesome. Great gig. Got to shoot every day. Got pretty proficient at it. Enough to where now I'm working with 4 other team guys. We started a shooting company out here in San Diego called Red Watch. And it's awesome, bro. We've got access to our own private ranges where we'll take clients out and we'll teach them how to do the basics all the way up to, the super sexy, cool guy stuff. So yeah, we put on ranges every weekend out here in San Diego. So if anybody listening to this wants to get out there and train, you can hit us up at Red Watch on Instagram, or my Instagram's at Shoot, Eat, and Lift. And You can find us at theredwatch.com and schedule a course. If you've got your own guns, great, and your own ammo, great. But if not, we can provide you with weapons to shoot. And again, it's all basic day one stuff. All the way up to like shooting at night, shooting out of helicopters, doing some CQC stuff, stress courses, things like that. We've got long range, short range. I mean, pretty much whatever you want.
That's awesome. Hopefully they won't be ringing the bell anytime soon. Sons of bitches. All right, John, listen, it was unbelievable having you on again. I so thank you for your time and your energy, and I love what you're doing out there. Brother, hopefully I'm going to get my ass out there and train with you guys because you are the man. So I want to learn some more, and I know you could teach. So thank you once again for everything. And you guys... Listen, if you're going to be out there, hit Johnny up. He's the nicest guy in the world, and I promise you, you will love it. So, John, thank you again. Awesome, brother. So good. Thank you once again.
Order, shot fire, officer down, shot fire, officer down. Got a city officer down, shot fire.
223, be advised, we have a visual on enemy paratroopers in grid Papa uniforms.
Welcome to the Resilient Warrior Nation, a podcast dedicated to inspiring hope and healing for first responders, military veterans, and anyone facing PTSD and trauma